How deep is the soul who loves like the river? Little streams of light flow pleasantly through to embrace you. Never in haste or in vain, always a place to remain in the rain. Peaceful the words and whimsy the ways, meandering under the moon or by day. Home is the soul who loves like a river, guiding the world toward the ocean. Written by Teresa Lorraine, 2024. Good morning, little God. Today, I would like to talk about the practice of flow. Now, this is a practice that is found universally in religion, particularly in mystic traditions. Flow is to move like water. If you consider the river, it is always moving, and yet the river is guided by the banks. Although the river is moving, in many ways it is patient, as it carves its path through the earth, through adversity, through hardness. Eventually, that river's purpose is to meet the ocean. And if we think of a river moving towards the ocean, it is always persistent, and yet it moves in its own time. There are various factors such as seasons and weather that impact the flow, whether it is fast or slow. So in this context, we can think of our lives as a great moving river towards the ocean. And through the years of our lives, as we encounter different people, relationships, or circumstances, such as workplaces or greater hardships, such as disease or caretaking a loved one, joblessness, homelessness, we can see how the seasons of our lives impact this great and holy river of our life on its path towards the ocean. And so a simple wisdom comes from this, that if we trust ourselves as water trusts itself, then we know that all of the currents of the world are pushing us towards this ocean. And all we really have to do is stay true to our practice, our sadhana, or our faith, and continue to allow life to carry us through the necessary trials that we must endure in order to find the ocean. And so the practice of flow in your life is a deep one. It begins with sort of a simple knowledge, which is to allow things to occur and arise in their own time, to not try to assert our smaller will over the smaller circumstances of life, but to disengage to a certain extent and to allow things to be as they are and to find the gifts inside of those situations and circumstances which allow us to have peace and contentment with our lives the way they are. And now this doesn't mean that we cease to work, and this doesn't mean that we cease to improve or that we stop having goals, but we allow things to sort of develop as they will, and we do our very best with the understanding that at the end of the day, a great part of our lives is outside of our control, and all that we can truly control is our mindset and our reaction to these external circumstances. A lot of times, we cannot flow with life because we are clinging. We cling to these stories and these ideas that we have about how life should be and how life should go. And these stories are given to us. They're not born into us. They're given to us through society and through culture, through our parents, our raising, our background, our religion. And this creates a framework through which we view the world. And we cling to this framework because, quite frankly, without it, we would feel quite lost. And yet life, in its magnitude and its awesomeness, has a way of disrupting that framework. Events occur that are not supposed to occur according to the story that we have written for ourselves. We find ourselves in unpredictable circumstances, and we don't know how to react. There's no template for that. Anyone who has become a parent is faced with this almost every day. As you shelter a young life and guide a young life into the world. I don't think anyone can prepare truly for parenthood. But it is a great lesson to trust in the flow of life, to trust in the greatness of the soul, and to realize that all of these trials and all of these obstacles are really just to help us as we purify the heart, as we learn and gain wisdom through the seeking of peace with our lives and peace within ourselves. I think there comes a time that we all feel a need to turn away from the everyday problems and dramas and troubles that the world presents us, and there's an endless amount of them in every arena of life. And we simply wish to have peace. And so this is really the goal, and what it means to live in flow is to live in peace, to have peace in your life, to not engage in behaviors or with people that cause unnecessary conflict. We do grow through conflict, but I believe the lesson at the end of every conflict is truly a letting go, a forgiving. Christ teaches us that our actions in this life bind us in the next. And so from a Christian perspective, you can understand flow as being forgiveness, forgiving the ones who've wronged you and becoming a peacemaker between people is how we truly grasp the idea of simply flowing with life, removing our judgments, and practicing a higher love. In Taoism, this idea is similar to Wu Wei. The idea of Wu Wei being a little bit more cerebral in nature. This idea that the Tao is a great force that is always moving through the world. And that by practicing this art of inaction, we are able to disengage from worldly obstacles and truly move in harmony with the Tao, from which comes the attainment of the Tao or realization. And that moment is when the river meets the ocean. And so flow is the practice of peace. It is being a peacemaker among people. Flow is having inner quiet, addressing our inner state and being self-accountable for our inner state, recognizing those thoughts that tear us down and lead to confrontational behaviors in our lives or negative self-talk, and truly learning to get a grasp over these inner thoughts and these inner states of mind and create a very clean inner space for ourselves where we have a certain amount of peace both with ourselves and with our relationships with people. And so a part of this flow is meeting everyone where they are at. And of course, we know the world is full of many different kinds of people, and we don't get along with all of them. Some of them we really struggle to see eye to eye. And yet, acknowledging that the divine dwells within every person is an easier way to begin to accept every person as they are, to see everyone as being on their unique journey to God. And perhaps there was a meaning in your encountering of them. And even if there is very little to be gained by that encounter on your side, perhaps the gain was theirs. And there is a feeling many of us carry with us, which is a deep-seated feeling of shame. Shame is a sense that there is something wrong with the way we are doing things, and we are afraid of being judged. A way to look at it is that judgment is inescapable. Everyone judges. A part of our spiritual practice is to disentangle ourselves from those judgments that we make towards other people, and that's all we can control. We cannot control how people perceive us. And you will hear all sorts of strange things that people think about you. But realize no one ever really sees you. No one can really know your heart except God. And no one can really know your reasons except God. And so accept the judgment with a grain of salt. Forgive it, realizing that no one is perfect. And if we can come to expect this behavior from people, it is much easier to forgive it. Because holding people to a standard higher than where they are at means that we are loving conditionally rather than unconditionally. And every person has a place in the tree of life. In summation, the practice of flow is truly a practice of love. Loving yourself as you are. Forgiving yourself as you are. Coming to the divine as you are. Learning to love others as they are. Accepting as they are. Seeing them as they are. And in the same sense, seeing every obstacle in our life and every trouble that we are working through as a divine gift, that through this struggle, the river eventually comes to the ocean.